Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. My name's Alex. This is That CNFT Show, and I'm very excited to be joined on tonight's creator interview with 2/3 of the team from the Wild West project. I'm with Daylan and Kevin, and thank you very much for joining me, guys.
Absolutely.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. So why don't you tell me your roles in the project and who's missing tonight?
So I will start. I'm Daylan. I go by the pseudonym Luke Pines on Twitter and Discord. I basically oversee any community interaction. I run the Twitter, I run the Discord, anything that involves me editing Discord channels, talking to people. That's kind of my job. And also behind the scenes, I kind of manage the whole project as like, hey, Kevin, we need to get this done by this date. Or, hey, Servi, who's our third, who's not here, he's our web developer. I'll be like, hey, we need to launch, we need to put a countdown timer on the website. So that's kind of my job to oversee all the background and, obviously the community interaction.
Okay.
And hey guys, I'm Kevin. So I am the head, I would say creative or design / artist of the team. Any and all ideas dealing with the actual 2D creation and illustration involved with the project starts with me. Anything from sketches to ideating or just being able to realize any of the 2D visuals, just all comes through me pretty much, and any and all pretty much illustration output.
Great. And you said your third is your web developer. What's he working on these days?
So he's not as much involved into the front end of the project. So obviously, Kevin's very heavy on the art, so he does a lot of work. But Servi is kind of our third guy when we need him. He helped us develop our randomization script. That's going to come later for, obviously the larger project. He obviously helped us do the uploading of the smaller drop, the most wanted poster release. And then he also developed our full website. He does kind of like the really tech heavy stuff for us because, I don't know anything about coding.
I understand. So, Kevin, I was looking out, not a lot is available online, but I was looking on your Twitter profile and you have some of your industrial design work. Yeah. How did you get into design and how did that kind of move into an art project like this?
Right. I got like versions together. So I've been drawing pretty much all my life, right? Ever since I was 4 or 5 years old, elementary school kind of deal. And I also went to an arts high school, and this arts high school is very specialized, right? So you have to audition to get into it. This is when you're like in middle school, 10, 11 years old. So you need to create a portfolio to get into the school. And in my high school, it's a very rigorous program where we pretty much do our craft on a daily basis. And around junior year of high school, it was like 15 or something. I was, introduced to industrial design. A lot of like vacuum sketching, things like that. For those who don't know, so industrial design, involves with the design and the aesthetics, more driven for, everything that involves products, right? So with that, at least in the beginning phases, has heavy to do with sketching, right? You're coming up with tons of ideas to, present to the board, to, people involved with your team, manufacturers, vendors, all that kind of stuff. So that's a part of my trade, right? But, every time that I come back home or on the weekends or whenever, I'm always drawing, always creating illustrations from architecture concepts to, cartoons sometimes, or just illustrative like storyboarding. I do a lot of storyboarding, heavy on that stuff. It's just kind of something that I do. So if you kind of combined my trade, which is industrial design, the development of products, designing cars or buildings and things like that, and then kind of involve a little bit more of my interests and my hobbies, which is a lot more like, I want to say like very culture focused or just very illustration, storyboarding and kind of things like that. That's where I start to think about, kind of the NFT world. So that's when, I started talking to Daylan. Daylan and I, we've worked a couple of times in the past in, retail environments where I was like pretty much just broke. So I was like, hey, Daylan, like, is there anything, you're doing? And he knows what I do. He knows I draw pretty much all the time. Even when I'm working these retail jobs, I'm just sketching and drawing, whether on the job or just outside of it. And then, we started talking about NFTs and things like that. And I was like, oh, this would be a great space for me to kind of exercise, my ideas really, because it can start from anything from a napkin sketch of me just like quickly coming up with quick things and just really develop into something that's a lot more concept based, like a concept art, sketch or skit. So then, from that, we started doing a little bit of like, schematics, just creating like these scenes on paper and things like that. And I was like, it'd be really interesting if we can kind of create this world, which kind of led to Wild West, right? Because the Wild West was something that was very new, it was fresh. And it's just kind of like this wild area. And in the same way that I would actually saw the NFT world, or just the metaverse, I guess, in this case. So that's just where that kind of came to be. So now I'm putting a little bit of like my sketching skills and then like my 2D development skills really into just, full drive, I guess, if that answers your question.
So I guess then I'll ask Daylan, how did you find your way into crypto and NFTs, and more specifically into using the Cardano blockchain and the Cardano ecosystem?
I've actually been into cryptocurrency for a little while, not as heavy until obviously, the last probably since midsummer, but I actually got into Cardano like last year. Probably actually almost this exact same time last year. So almost a full year ago now. It was just complete. I was just doing research and I just kind of liked what they stood for as a company and organization, IOHK, and what Charles is doing. So I've always had faith in like the Cardano blockchain. And then I actually kind of got into NFTs a little bit later. I dove more headfirst probably around late summer, around, I don't know, August, September. But I actually found out a friend of mine sent me the Space Buds when they were like first minting. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really want to spend like ADA on this. It kind of looks weird. And obviously we know where those are now, and I'm regretting it to this day. But yeah, and then I actually drug him into the NFT space, especially the CNFT space, because when Clay Nation was minting, I was like, I told all my friends in our group chat, we have a crypto group chat, and I was like, everybody mint these. These are sick. Like, the art is amazing. The team is awesome. Because I was really heavy in their Discord. I still pop in every once in a while, but he was the only one who did.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It was like, it's kind of a space where I was like, wow, people are actually, at least I speak on behalf of Claymate specifically, with Clay Nation. I was like, there's a lot of, focus and just attention to detail that's getting put into that project in particular. That really spoke to me personally, because I think prior to that, I felt a little bit funny about a lot of the projects that were being worked on, and just like the NFT space. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, but I think Clay Nation was putting a great example, and I think a good reference for me to kind of like, proceed accordingly and just say like, okay, this is an area where it's not just so much on like, the NFT itself, but like so much more on what you can actually do. Right. So,
they've really set the bar high, I think, for building a community and building an identity through owning that NFT. And I think it's something that a lot of other projects should aspire to. Yeah. Now, when you settled on and had sort of the idea of the Wild West, how did that kind of manifest in what you want to make art that reflects those ideas?
I mean, I could kind of just start where I came up with the idea. I did so I was actually in the midst of probably 3 years ago now, I was going to do a Wild West, not full Wild West theme, but kind of like that aesthetic clothing line. Because when I first moved to New York, I was going to do fashion design. And it was with my roommate at the time, but then like the project just fell through, completely flopped. I'd already done like a bunch of like promo. I made a bunch of videos and promo stuff and stuff that I like never ended up releasing. And so like I kind of always in the back of my mind had that idea. And, when I originally presented it to Kevin, it was a lot different idea. We had like an idea about like doing convicts, like old Western convicts with wanted sign, or mug shots. But then he showed me the first sketch of like the character, and I was like, no, that's it. Like, we're going to do those characters, scrap the mugshot idea. Like, your art is too good. So yeah, it just kind of all manifested from there. And we've just been, we have a group chat. I just throw ideas in there. They throw ideas in there. We bounce off each other. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, and that mugshot idea, that's still there a little bit, right? Why don't you tell us about that? Why don't you tell us about the drop that you just had last week with your wanted posters?
Do you want to start like how you came up with the idea? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I was really digging and doing a little bit of research on just the Wild West and like traditional Wild West and like where this whole idea kind of existed, like, in terms of actual history. And it was just like very common, this idea of like bandits or just outlaws, right? So, it's just like in a space where there's no rules, there's no laws or anything. So someone would pay somebody to go hunt somebody. You know, that's the whole idea of like bounty hunting and just like trying to get somebody down because they're being an outlaw or they're going against, you know, the whole nature of the government that exists. And then I was like, wow, it'd be so cool if like, you know, we were to kind of create these characters or these storylines that kind of played into something that's much larger, right? Like, what if this, you know, one, you know, convict or outlaw did something around the town that, you know, kind of just stirred the pot essentially and kind of inspired other convicts or other bandits. I see them more bandits, you know, around the community, and like, what could that actually look like, right? So, you know, this is where I kind of pull out my paper and I start sketching the ideas and doing a lot of like character development. I'm saying like, hey, Daylan, I had this idea of like one that throws like, you know, these gas bombs essentially, and that's how he does his raids, you know, or one that's more like an alchemist, you know, or one that's more of like a tank and he just like burges in and he does his thing and he just like does like this very like, you know, Viking style raids. I'm kind of like dropping information, but
we're really subtly creating lore, which we'll dive more into the reason why a little bit later into this interview. But like, if you notice, like on the poster, it says like Deadwood, obviously it has utility that we're creating for that piece, but we're building up these characters to have more involvement later down the line in our project. From something that Kevin is working on that's really cool. So we'll come back to that later though.
Sure, because I was going to hit upon that too, because you have certain obviously there's Wild West tropes like guns, birds, cowboy hats, sheriff stars, but then you've also mixed in things like cyborgs, vampires.
I can see, kind of took like all like, you know, every kind of Hollywood rendition of the Wild West at any given time period, whether it's like Cowboy Bebop, Space Cowboys, or like Cowboys versus Aliens, or, you know, like Van Helsing, like all that kind of like play on what people envision the Wild West being like. We kind of like took all those tropes and combined them into one project because, you know, with the Wild West, it's like, you know, it's vague enough to where we can have fun with what we produce. It's not like, so this is like, you know, we're not setting ourselves to this box. So we want our box to be as big as possible. So we have more creativity. And obviously, like, the posters were all his idea. Shouts out to Kevin, because like I give him a lot of creative freedom with what he produces. And if he'll send me something, I'll be like, we need to put that out, like finalize that and keep working on that.
Yeah. And not even that, I should also add the fact that the reason why I personally like relate so much to the Wild West and the idea of it is just, you just don't know what's going to come up. So as I'm sketching, doing this character development, you know, we're starting off with the basis, or at least I use the basis of what traditional Wild West kind of theme is. But then now I'm really starting to put in a little bit more spice and like actually build something around it where it's not like, you know, it's becoming its own thing essentially, right? So that's actually the goal. It's going to actually develop into something that's a lot more with like a solid story or a foundation to it.
So one of the things that I've noticed that you've kind of teased a little bit is the wanted posters are sort of like a traditional PFP project where it's just a close up, or just a face, and it has different attributes and whatever. But you've also released a couple of images of kind of wider scenes, where wider shots of the stuff going on in the background, stuff where the character is full body. How are you going to work some of those things into the story, or the NFT project?
I mean, this is a great segue into what I was just talking about earlier with creating the lore. So one of our big ideas is, you know, this, again, shouts out to Kevin, came up with this idea. He wants to do a comic book strip. Vegemite's actually just released a really cool one. I didn't even know they were doing that. So that was really cool to see that they were doing that too. But we also want to do, you know, we haven't figured out on how we want to release it, but we want to do hard copy zines. So just small physical things that you can have on your coffee table that will have more art or like a story, or maybe even like a small book that we're going to produce with the characters that exist from the wanted posters and the visuals and like the full body teasers and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I think it's also probably worth mentioning that, you know, I work a lot with 3D and 3D objects, you know, as an industrial designer. So I already have plans of, you know, introducing that a little bit. So if like, you know, say the golden NFT wanted posters, like something like that can accompany with a collectible, right, of actual Deadwood. You know, I actually have plans of developing them on 3D and somehow getting a, you know, a hardcore copy of that or something like that. Just different ways in which we can kind of bring this to life that it's not so, you know, I guess just tied to something that's like, you know, just a flat PFP or something like that.
And I also saw the video you guys put on Twitter of probably a CNC router.
Yeah,
cutting out one of the wanted posters. Is someone lucky enough to be able to take home one of those?
Yes. So we gave that away as our very first like press promo thing ever on Twitter.
Let me go.
We have a one that we kept for like the team and ourselves. We're all going to sign it, but obviously Servi lives in LA, so he hasn't been out here. But next time he's here, we'll have him sign it. And yeah, we actually gave somebody a physical copy of the prototype where the original idea.
Yeah, this is like the one of one. Nobody probably would have this except us, right? But yeah, it's actually
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, like a quarter bit, and I actually went in there and like hand paint this entire thing. So it's kind of a work in progress, right? But yeah, you guys are definitely going to be expecting a lot more of this down the line.
Yeah, we want to try to introduce like physical things.
Yeah.
I mean, I love NFTs, I love crypto, but it's also cool to introduce like things that correlate into real life. I mean, Bored Apes did the whole merch thing. They had a party. I thought that was super innovative for like the space. So to bring people together as a collective or to give them collectibles that are, they can have in person is also really cool. So yeah, we want to introduce that. And, obviously the logistics behind who's going to get them and how we're going to send them out, that's stuff we're working on.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
But yeah, that's definitely, stuff we have in mind.
Well, I think a lot of people in the space have ideas of how they're going to tie NFTs into real world objects. From the simplest expression, like I minted my son an NFT for Christmas this year, and I got it printed on a t-shirt form as well. And I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him the QR code and say, scan this, and he's going to see what his NFT is. Right. But there's all sorts of cool ways that you can wrap it into real world objects, but I hadn't seen like a physical representation. That wanted poster etched in wood. That's an amazing way to kind of commemorate the project.
Definitely. I think if there's anything that I want, like anyone to take away is just the idea of character development. Like really expect these characters to come into fruition. It's really good that you're kind of experiencing this with us, like we're just beginning to kind of create these entire personalities. Like I really have long-term plans of doing a lot of concept sketching and a lot of concept art that's just going to be built around these characters. Like nothing is really set in stone. And I think it's going to be really good to kind of see them come to life in a way,
Yeah. I think it's been really cool for us because a lot of projects you see now, it's like, you don't see anything that goes on behind the scenes and all of a sudden they're like, here's our project. It's fully completed. But we decided like, we're just going to start from the very beginning. I'm just going to make the Twitter first day and we're going to show people the whole process. So, they can see the characters develop through the wanted posters, or they can see our creative process that happens behind the scenes. I've been posting some stuff in, obviously in the Discord, and we really just made it our effort to make people feel a part of the community from the ground up. So like, even all the sketches we posted so far, teasers, those are all, most of completely unfinished basically. And everyone we post just gets a little bit more finished as we go along. And obviously we're not going to show everything. And me and you had this conversation. It's like, how do we show enough to keep people happy and entertained, but not show too much to where we're spoiling it for ourselves? And that's definitely still something we're working on because I know that we have a lot of cool stuff that we haven't shown yet.
Yeah. And for me, and the point that I made, and I obviously look at a lot of different projects, and for me, sometimes if there's not a ton of examples, there might not be enough for me to make an informed decision on what the final project is going to be. And I said this to you, Daylan, on Discord. I missed it with DGens. I saw one or two and thought, I don't really like it. And then when they started coming out on Mint Day, I was like, holy, there's some really, really high quality variants that they've made in here. So I understand that there's kind of a balancing act there, right? And you got to decide what to do.
Yeah. I mean, shouts out to DGens. They're awesome. But I think community is also like, for me personally, that's like a big factor. I mean, like you said earlier, like Clay Nation has set the standard. And I just felt so welcome in their community. Like as soon as I joined the Discord, everybody was awesome. Everybody was great. And so that obviously that comes back to my job, like for this project is like, I want to, obviously the Discord's still small now, but I want to, as more people get in, make them feel welcome 100% all the time in our community, because like that, like DGens with the Goat Tribe, like they really do a great job as a full community, just like coming together.
And one of the things I did notice in your Discord that I actually really admire is asking for ideas and feedback and immediately implementing it, or implementing it as soon as you can. Like I noticed that you got your idea for Discord roles from a community member.
Yeah. He got it. He came up with the idea, so I gave him a really special role. So that was Nell. I actually didn't even realize he's a Bitlands guy. So if you know about Bitlands, he actually is one of the members on their team. I didn't realize that until later, and I was like, dude, I love that project. But yeah, since he came up with the idea, I gave him a special role. I will say there's more coming. Life's been crazy because we both work full-time jobs outside of this. So like I've been super, super busy, but there is more. I want to have at least 10 total roles, and people can kind of choose their own story and their own role like within the community.
Well, I chose Bandit for mine. So one thing that I did want to ask about, and I don't know how much you want to reveal yet, but what are your timelines, or roughly what are your timelines, and what are you working on the next month or the next couple of months, or where are you going?
So it's after this weekend, actually, we're going to launch like I want to call it a rough draft, but we're basically going to launch like a roadmap for, I can pull it up on my phone here, kind of go over with you what the plans are. That was supposed to come out, but like I said, Servy's like doing some crazy soccer tournament. He has to upload to the website. So like for December, we want to finalize, like, obviously we want to release some more teasers on Twitter and Discord, and we want them to be completely 100% finished. So we're going to release some of the 10K like teasers, but we're going to kind of come up as a team, like what do we want them to look like? How much do we want to show? Like what the assets are going to be? And then we're going to have Kevin just like 100% finish those, what the final copy is going to look like. So people have an idea of like, when I mint this project, this is what I expect to get. This is the level of detail and everything like that. So that's our main focus right now. We're actually going to do that charity donation where we're going to donate it on Friday, but we completely sideball this charity, and we're actually helping them set up an ADA wallet. So we're just going to send the ADA directly to them. We might release the address for them in the Discord as well if anyone wants to make any additional donations. Super cool. That was Servy's recommendation, that charity. It was called I Stand With My Pack. And they basically they take care and like foster animals that are abused. So yeah, it was really cool. We're going to try to get out an airdrop for the poster holders for Christmas. So that's also a work in progress. That is obviously dependent. Our main focus, like I said, is the finalizing the teaser for the project, the 10K. And then going into next year, we basically are working on, I'm not going to explain anything about it, but just know it's called the Town Drop. And that's basically all the information you're going to get right now.
Okay. That face that I just made, I'm going to put that Fry squinting meme over what I just did when you did that. Well, and it is good news to hear, because I was lucky enough to be the last person to mint one of the wanted posters.
Was amazing. Yeah,
and it was so crazy. It was so crazy because I got up. I think that was Sunday morning. I got up at, I don't know, 8 or 9, and I was like, I should do this. And then, like, my kids were up, or I went and made breakfast or whatever. And I just came back to it a couple hours later. I was like, the address is still up. I'm still going to try this. And I just happened to get the last one because I really
I can confirm you got the very last one. And we were down to one for like 3 hours, and like
and that was the 3 hours that I was waiting in between when I initially meant to do it and when I actually pulled the trigger. So I'm very lucky. But I think that even though you're building up to a very large project, the 10K drop, I think that limited editions, anything that there's like less than a couple of hundred, I'm really into that, because it's very exclusive, right?
Yeah. And it makes you feel more a part of the community, especially the early community. Like this poster release is like, this will go like, even if a year down the road we have like a successful project, those people who hold that piece are going to feel very special for the community. I love like small mints. I just got him to buy the house fronts. From Francis Williams, and I think it's Francis Williams. That project is super cool. Like right now, there's only 300 out, I think, and not even that, 200 maybe. but yeah, so basically, and like Q1 for next year for our project, we want to try to get the PFP project out. We're just finalizing things. We want to do smaller releases building up to that. Take it slow. We don't want to rush things. That's a big problem I've seen within the community. People rush things. The drop doesn't go how they wanted. The community gets upset. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So we're going to like really take it one step at a time. Put like an asterisk next to Q1 for that, because
sure.
we're going to see where the community's at and like if we're ready to drop it then. But, cause, you know, we have a pretty lightweight roadmap right now, because I leave a lot of stuff to this guy, and I'm just like, if you come up with something and it's a good idea, like we'll release it. It's, you know, if it's on the roadmap, just don't be surprised, because Kevin I've known him for 5 years, and the reason I picked him like to be the artist for this project, because like I just trust his work. He's a fantastic artist. So
awesome. Well, and I really like what I've seen so far, and I'm excited to see, like I said, the kind of zooming out from the PFP project to see more of the lore and the world that you guys are building around it. I am usually not that into like Wild West stuff, but the idea that you're bringing in, like you said, cowboys versus aliens, that's one that I thought of as well. And these kind of sci-fi elements and almost steampunk elements in the Wild West, like that.
That was actually,
really
that was shouts out to, I forgot who said that in the Discord. That was their recommendation. And we're adding like steampunk, like goggles and cool stuff. Like
a lot of gadgety kind of base things, right? So.
Yeah, like the terrible Will Smith movie, right?
Yeah, Wild West. That's an iconic movie. The spider walking and everything.
That's exactly that.
Yeah. So yeah, we, if you say something in Discord, we do take that to heart. If you're watching this, whoever said that in the Discord, like shouts out to you. We're doing Steampunk because of you. So that's super cool. I'm excited for that.
Well, and that's a great way to engage the community as well, right? Like as long as this is a project that's still in development, and you guys want to listen to what good ideas people have, and you kind of outsource those to your members, it's just going to engender a lot more community engagement and a lot more loyalty to you, right?
Yeah. I'm super excited. I mean, when I like first brought this project up to them, I was like, from, however long we do this, forever, for the rest of the time, like I want to get community suggestions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very true.
Because I think it's cool when, obviously you're going to feel more involved when I read all those suggestions and I do send them to our group chat. And so if those come to fruition, and those people are going to be like, hey, that was my idea. Like I did that. It's easier now with like the early community, because it's definitely a lot less commotion. So I see every single chat that goes through the Discord. But yeah, just know that we do look out for those.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, those are all my questions. Were there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up before we wrap up tonight?
Do you want to bring up anything you're working on, what you have?
Just, expect a lot more of the kind of wanted style stuff, still, again, character development. If there's a takeaway, character development, like I'm going to be just be working a lot on that kind of stuff. Just like individually, like who these bandits are and who's going to be tackling down, and like the story about like, where they come from, how they ended up being. Like I'm going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So expect a lot more like concept sketching and just posters and just like these really cool illustrative style, drawings.
And pay attention to the details too.
Yeah. I might drop.
So like that, Deadwood on that poster, that's there for a reason. Like all these the names of like, characters on our future wanted posters or other things that we may release. Like keep those in the back of your head, because we're going to come back full circle and use them later.
Yeah. If there's anything also, like I really want it to be very action based, kind of like a comic book style, kind of Marvelish, I guess. So, expect that kind of like scenario kind of play going on with the project moving forward for sure.
Yeah. And of course we'll send you some stuff. I'll have Kevin just come up with some ideas and send you some unseen stuff that's special for the channel, for the viewers of the show, so they'll get a first peek at some cool stuff.
Yeah,
that's great. I really appreciate that, guys. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to tell me about the project. I'm excited to see what you've got coming out both very soon and in the next couple months and into the new year. So thank you both of you for joining me tonight, and happy birthday once again, Kevin.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care. We hope to see you in the Discord and round.
I will be. I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas for you. I'll drop in there as well. So
December.
All right.
Be heavy, so
Yeah.
Expect a lot.
Okay, Pete, thanks very much, guys. You have a good
Yeah,
night.
thank you so much for having us.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys.